You mentioned after the Stanford game that the team has responded well to losses. What does that response generally look like?
Well, you hope you refocus and you tighten things up and you get better from it. I mean, that's ultimately what you need to do. And there's no guarantee that it's going to happen, but traditionally, these guys have been able to respond, and this is another opportunity for them to do that.
One of the things you talked about after the Stanford game was the number of three-point shots. What do you think led to that?
Well, I mean, obviously we have some good three-point shooters, and if you probably look at 28 or 30 of those shots, they're probably pretty good shots. But overall, I mean, obviously Stanford, he made a decision, and they were gonna, switch a lot of ball screens, really front the post, and kind of flood the backside with help. And there was open shots to be had, and listen, I'm okay with a lot of the shots, but you also want a mentality where you're going to stay aggressive and you're going to kind of assert your will on people. But, Stanford gets credit for it, and then, we got to learn from it.
When you look back on the game, remember you were saying you felt like with Zoo out, you still felt like you were going with the right guys, and you ended up going really small for a while there, and frankly, that lineup did pretty well for a moment. Was that like a viable, or was that like a planned strategy that you would go small?
Well, I mean, it's always an option. It's always an option. It's something we practice once in a while. We don't spend a lot of time on it, and that was probably dictated, a little bit by foul trouble and a little bit by fatigue. And the end of the half, we tried it and it worked. And so the end of the game, we ended up down. I know it doesn't feel like it after, but the games that are, I don't know, 5-6 minutes to go, it's still right there for the taking, and you just got to play better down the stretch, and we didn't. And then you get down 6 or 8 points and get a little desperate and miss a shot or two and start fouling, and that makes it, next thing you know, it's 12 to 14 points. And so no, I mean it's a lineup that I'm comfortable playing because they're good basketball players, but obviously our bread and butters are big guys, and we're not going to go away from that.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, if you feel like you're better off to go small and stick with those guys than maybe add somebody else in there and stay bigger or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you're also trying to come back. I mean, the game's different, and that lineup was able to do some things defensively and to give us a chance. And obviously, we weren't able to get over the top. And you have options, and maybe they're good options, but even good options don't work sometimes. So that's coaching, that's sports, and we've moved on.
The consensus, the first Utah game was kind of one where things just didn't go well. Maybe not, players not motivated. That's what Umar had said before. What else do you remember from that game besides that?
Well, I remember that we went and we got punched. We got punched by a good team that was playing at home, and they had a spirited effort. And I just remember after the game, obviously disappointed in the way we playing, but thinking that Utah's a pretty good team. I mean, that's what I remember.
Brandon Carlson had a pretty big game, a lot of shots from the outside, and I don't think he's done that as much since then. How important is it going to be to keep an eye on where he is?
Well, he's a really good player. I mean, he's experienced, he's confident, he's got a ton of freedom. They run things to take advantage of his skill set, and obviously, our center's on the bigger side. Theirs is tall and maybe a little more agile. So I'm sure they feel like they have an advantage there, and they're going to try to find ways to exploit that advantage. And we have to find ways to either guard it or live with it. One of the two things.
How do you think they've changed? I mean, it's been a long time since you played him. I know Madsen's out. I know. How do you think they've changed since then?
Well, I mean, for the most part, to me, it looks like they're very similar to how they were before, and I mean, they're really sound. Obviously, they have great defensive numbers, and they're a good defensive team, and offensively, they share and move the ball, and they have skilled players, and they play really well together. And then I think the sneaky thing they do is they're a great offensive rebounding team. They're some of their role players have strengths in that area, and they're tough to keep off the glass.
The defensive numbers, though, they are pretty good. Yeah, I mean, do you see anything particularly? Are they mixing in any kind of tricks there, or is it just a matter of?
I don't think there's any tricks. I mean, I just think they're sound, and they got rim protection, and they got activity, and they got a solid plan, and they execute it. Does that mean press conference is over? Yeah. Okay. Good. Here we go.
With, as Azuolas having a game that foul trouble, but also not really getting very many opportunities. And that's the first time that that's happened this year. What have you seen from him in practice since then?
I mean, Zoo's fine. I mean, he's had an incredible year, and I'm sure he's not, happy with how it went, whether, it's, being in foul trouble or even some of my decisions in some of the lineups. But, I mean, Zoo's a great player, and we're gonna ride with him, all the way till the end. And so, I don't think there's anything to be panicked about or worried about.
Did he say anything after the game about that this isn't going to happen again, or?
No. And if he did, I probably wouldn't be sharing it in here. I mean, I'm not sharing intimate things we talk about in the locker room with the players. So, no, I mean, Zoo's a great kid, guys. You guys know how good of a kid he is. I mean, he's the best. So I have no concerns.
Pattern to your losses?
I mean, I don't know. Have you figured out one? Is there an algorithm here?
The reason I ask is it's kind of a weird situation where the teams you have lost to are fighting to get into the tournament, and meanwhile you've beaten some of the best teams in the country.
Well, I mean, I think we have a lot of teams in the Pac-12 that are fighting, fighting to get in the tournament. And, we've I mean, I don't know if, the only theme I see is, we lose Utah coming back from a tough Maui swing. We lost to a good team, and our three losses in conference have been, our other three losses have been, on a Saturday, and maybe that's a theme. I don't know. Something we got to figure it out. But, I also know we've played really well on other Saturdays, so I'm not going to overthink it. And I think the theme is, when we play well and spirited and tough, we're hard to beat. When we don't, we're beatable. I mean, it's not much more complicated than that.
When you say the Saturday thing, I was wondering, granted, generally you played better teams on Saturdays, but do you feel like...
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I haven't sliced and diced it like that. But
last week you had Cal and then Stanford, and you had Oregon State before Oregon, that kind of thing. So I didn't know, when you look at those losses and the Saturday games, do you feel like, especially running a tight rotation, is fatigue? Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I also know at Washington we're running the same rotation, and we played our best second half of the year. I think you can really overthink things, and we just got to play better. And you know what? And it's just like I told the guys, and we reminded them, if they want it bad enough, they got plenty in the tank. The tank's not on empty. So, we just got to step up and play better. I mean, there's not much more rhyme or reason to it than that.
You see any commonalities in the defense, maybe not as sharp in the losses, that things that just aren't happening?
Well, listen, you lose, there's going to be things. You're probably going to not have rebounded as well. You're probably not going to have a shot as well. They're going to probably have shot it well. But I think every team can look at those things, in their wins and losses. I don't think any team says, man, when we win, we shoot it really poorly and the other team shoots it great. I mean, no, that's basketball. So I don't have any crazy commonalities. I mean, I feel like when we've lost, we haven't played very well. And, there's I'm sure the opponent has something to do with that. I'm sure we have something to do with that. So, we gotta kind of reinforce our habits, and we gotta play better. And that's where the response comes into the equation.
Nate was helping me look at Thursday versus Saturday stats even, and they are not much more than you'd expect. I think the biggest one that jumped out was obviously their defensive numbers are not as good, but Pella shooting from three is much better on 50% on Thursday, 10% on Saturday. I don't know, it's just random stuff like that.
I haven't dug that deep into it. I'm expecting if Pella's open, the ball has a good chance to go in, and I want him shooting it that way. I don't want him thinking, well, it's a Saturday, I should probably turn this shot down. And Thursday, I'm going to shoot it though. I mean, now we're getting you're getting to stuff. You're overanalyzing things, and that's not going to. I don't think that helps the players.
When it came to this last game, I know that you were trying to come back, and there were a lot of shots from the outside, but it was also one of your lowest free throw attempt rates as far as how often you were getting to the line. How do you make sure that is still a situation when you're not getting...
It all goes hand in hand. If you shoot 35 threes, you're probably not getting fouled on a bunch of threes. So, you reduce foul pressure, and then you're probably not in the bonuses earlier. And, and listen, Stanford, obviously, they rode with that plan. And we made 14 of the threes. It wasn't like we didn't make threes. I mean, and a couple of it, we had some great looks. We could have easily made 17 or 18, and we're probably sitting here thinking, wow, maybe we should shoot 33s a game. But it's just not how we're going to play. And, you know, I mean, and so, you know, they picked their poison, and it worked that day, and I tip my hat to them, you know, and so, you know, we'll be prepared, more prepared, you know, the next time that shows up. You know,
To your game Saturday, Utah game, and then Portland State. What was the toughest to review?
well, I mean, Portland State, I didn't review that one. You know, I mean, that's other coaches get paid to do that. No, I mean, the Stanford and the Utah games, I mean, yeah, we obviously didn't play well. And you know, there are teams that did a good job against us. So, you know, the challenge is to find a way to play better. And I love that challenge.
I was just wondering, just as a dad more than anything, what do you think when you watched that game? It looked like Liam had a one.
Well, I think he played it, you know, Liam's had an up and down year, like, you know, a lot of kids do in college basketball, and, you know, but he's stuck with it, and he was playing a really good game. You know, he made a big shot, you know, after missing the shot a few seconds earlier that would have done the same thing. So he gets another opportunity, he makes it, and you want your kid to have that moment because it's a pretty special moment, and he's worked hard, and, you know, it just wasn't to be. I mean, they literally hit a Hail Mary. You know, like, I don't know how you guard it better. I don't know what else you do differently. And the kid had made an incredible play. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, it took away a great moment from Liam and his team. But he's a tough kid, and I know he'll be fine.
Was your wife or any of your family up there for that game?
No.
Coach, to mention possible seedings and conference standings and all that this time of year.
Not too much. You know, I mean, I think we're on a game-by-game deal. I mean, obviously, you know, you're getting closer to that point, and you know, and the seeding and the, you know, the seeding's a representation of how you did throughout the season. You know, so I mean, obviously, you want to do great, so you want a good seed. You know, but you don't sit here and tell your guys, man, if we're a 4 seed, you know, you got a 12% chance to get through. I mean, you just hey, we're at, and when we get the pairings, you know, whether that's the Pac-12 tournament or the NCAA tournament, you know, you go try to win the next game. And so we really don't, you know, I don't pay too much mind to that stuff because, again, you start overanalyzing things and, you know, you're kind of taking your focus off the things that really you need to be focused on.
One more question.
You mentioned on the radio you thought the scout was too complicated at Stanford. Is that in the sense of what they were doing to you defensively?
No, I mean, we just, you know, I thought our team was at a point where maybe we needed a little, you know, a mental challenge. So we kind of added some layers to the scout, you know, and you know, in and of itself, you know, if they're executed, they work. But we probably created too many opportunities to make decisions, and you know, and then maybe we caused some bad decisions or some overthinking. And you know, hey, I mean, I'm wearing this loss too. You know, the players obviously have to hold up their end of the bargain, and we've all talked about that. But you know, I'm wearing it too because I didn't feel like, you know, I was at my best on Saturday, and you know, I mean, that's something that, you know, hits home to me. So you know, I always want to put our team in the best position possible to win, and I just have to reflect it on Saturday. You know, I mean, it probably wasn't my best effort either. I don't know. That's for you and Nate to figure out. So, all right, guys.